What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Lewis. So back again for another video, man. Today we got a video uploaded by the film Theorist. I like this guy's content, man. I actually watch his channel. Every now and then he drops some really interesting theory videos, some really clicky type of titles, you know what I'm saying, that really pique my interest. This one, Venom's secret weapon, Venom versus Carnage, film theory. What is Venom's secret weapon? We're gonna get into it, but before we get into it, y'all let me know down below in the comments, man, how was your day? Hopefully it was pretty good, you know what I'm saying? Also, let me know, have you seen Venom Let There Be Carnage? Because it's probably gonna maybe contain some spoilers for that movie in here. I watched it, thought it was a decent movie overall, but you guys should let me know down below how you felt about the movie and how'd you feel about that end credit scene. It was amazing. Anyways, let's get to it, see what he's talking about. Let's get it, man. Let's go. Secret weapon.
Venom, there is only Carnage. I am inevitable. I am Iron Man.
That's a. I like that. I like that.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, where we are Team Theorist. Speaking of, if you want to meld into our symbiote that's now absorbed over 10 million subscribers, hit that red button down below. We'd be glad to have you merge into
How long
the
has he been on
Theorist
YouTube?
family.
I gotta
press
check
the
that.
button. How you feel about that one, Venom?
Outstanding. Now, let's bite all the heads off and pile them up in the corner.
No, we will not bite off their heads. Okay, maybe just one.
Not me.
It absolutely takes a village to make the kind of quality content that you've come to expect at the rate that you crave it, and that's why I can really appreciate solid teamwork. You know who else can appreciate solid teamwork? Eddie Brock and his way too close for comfort buddy, Venom. How's that for a seamless segue, ladies and gentlemen? If
That
you
was
think
pretty
your
tight.
roommates have been a little too close for comfort over the last year of lockdown,
Product.
just imagine how much worse it would be if they actually lived inside of you,
Oh,
and then,
never mind.
you know, just randomly decided to consume whole human heads in one bite. On that
Yeah, I
note,
wouldn't
can I
mind
just
it.
digress for a second here? Where are those heads going? Are they going into Eddie's stomach? Like, how is he digesting a full
That's a good
human
question.
skull? It's not like Venom.
That's a good question. Does Venom like break it down for him? You know what I'm saying? I never thought about that. I don't want to. This is already a long video. I don't want to think too much about it. But yeah, does like Venom like eat it and break it down for him, and so that Eddie gets like the remnants or the small remains of it into his system? And I don't know. that's the. I don't even want.
Venom has a physical structure that contains or digests these sorts of things. He's using Eddie's body as a host, so I don't know. Probably a theory better suited for another day. Also, since I'm on this whole digression, might as well include this too. Did you know that he's eating the brains so that way he doesn't go insane? Yeah, it's another weird detail from the comics. If the symbiotes don't eat human brains on a regular basis, they go insane. Either that or they gotta eat chocolates. Kind of gives
chocolate.
Snickers commercial.
I'm happy to kill Mrs. Chen.
Anyway, after being bounced around the release calendar more times than Black Widow bouncing off of HVAC systems, it's finally time for Venom 2 to be released into theaters.
True.
Big Bad being none other than, well, Venom himself. He's not really
He is a villain almost.
Here, let's be honest. Dude kind of sucks. But the
pretty
even
much.
worse villain this time around is serial killer Cletus Cassidy and his personal symbiote Carnage. It's not symbiote, right? I know they say that.
Let's
in
call
the
it
movie.
symbiote,
Just
bro.
double check. Symbiote. Yeah, symbiote.
Yeah,
I don't know who
symbiote.
says symbiote. So in true film theory fashion, I wanted to take a look
We
at
know
who
who.
should win this battle. Not who will win, because we all know the reality of franchise-based storytelling dictates that our title character will have to continue in some form, but rather
Exactly.
who should win. Like if there really were two real-life symbiotes modeled after Venom and Carnage, and we stuck them in a fight against each other, who
That's a
would
good
come
point.
out on top? And this question is pretty darn
More often than
interesting,
not,
since at
Venom
first
usually
glance,
wins.
The two symbiotes seem to be pretty much palette-swapped versions of each other. But when you look closer, there's actually a lot of differences in the way that they function, the ways that they interact with their hosts, and the way that they view the world, which would give an advantage to one over the other in a 1v1 brawl. So today we're looking at the comics, the movies, and the real worlds of science and psychology to determine, in a real-world battle of Carnage versus Venom, who would reign supreme. For those of you who skipped the Venom movie because it wasn't officially in the MCU yet, or weren't fans of comic books from the super edgy, totally rad 90s era, let's quickly go over the relevant factoids for our Venom-Carnage battle today. Venom is truly two different entities sharing a body. First, we have the journalist Eddie Brock. He's a human, nothing extraordinary to say about him. Secondly, though, we have ourselves an alien symbiote that infects Eddie, bonding with his nervous system. This symbiote is what allows Brock to transform into the black behemoth known as Venom. On the other side, we have Carnage. Though we haven't seen too much of Carnage in the movies yet, the story in the comics goes that while breaking Eddie Brock out of prison, the Venom symbiote creates an asexually produced offspring that ends up finding the serial killer Cletus Cassidy as its host.
Right.
In the movie, it looks like Cletus might actually bite Eddie and get a piece of the symbiote
strange.
that way.
I have tasted blood before.
And that is not it.
The interesting piece here, though, is that rather than bonding with Cassidy's nervous system, this new symbiote instead bonds with Cletus's blood, thus creating the red-looking monster called Carnage. And you see, this subtle difference actually gives us our first major basis for comparison: a neural connection in Venom versus a sanguineous connection or blood connection with Carnage.
I never heard that before.
paper, that
I gotta look up that word, sanguineous. Sanguineous, like it reminds me of like linguine. Are those words related in any fashion? You guys let me know.
Seem like an arbitrary distinction, it actually ties directly into both of these symbiotes' potential strengths and weaknesses. Venom being linked directly to Brock's nervous system gives him a solid scientific reason to have stronger, faster perception and reflexes, much akin to Peter Parker's spider sense. Venom's connections with the nervous system would also give him advanced control over the body, and therefore better precision in his movements. Remember, in a fight, strength isn't everything. Accuracy and control are going to matter a lot, so Venom is actually working with a major advantage here as well. However, Venom's direct ties into the human nervous system are a massive double-edged sword because it also comes with a huge set of disadvantages. As we've seen in both the comics and the movies, Venom is very weak to sound and sonic-based attacks. Sure, this originated as just a weakness concocted for a fictional character, but a real-life symbiote like this would scientifically have a weakness to intense perceptual inputs. A boosted nervous system, like the one that Venom gives to Brock, would in fact result in sound being amplified, and any weaknesses that symbiotes naturally had to sonic activity would likely be boosted.
It's comics, man. I'm not thinking about that.
It is super effective. This also opens up Venom to all kinds of nervous system-based weaknesses. Rapid changes in temperature, bright flashing lights, overwhelmingly bad smells. These are all things that are unpleasant to normal humans and could ultimately cripple the heightened awareness of Venom. Let me be clear, while these things might not be all that effective in the comics, out in the real-world battle against a symbiote connected to your nerves, it's suddenly gonna matter a lot. Carnage, on the other hand, is gonna get away with a lot more here. Because he's connected to the blood, his weaknesses are much fewer and far between. Blood isn't going to be weak to things like sound or flashing lights because blood has nothing to do with human perception. It's no weaker to sound than any other molecule in the body.
I mean, in this sense, yeah, I can see what he's saying because of the way they're connected. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, I mean, I've seen the movie, so I know. But I've also like known the characters of Venom and Carnage. Like, sound affects both of them just about as much. You know what I'm saying? And Carnage makes it a point of that. No spoilers, but like with a certain character, when a certain character does certain thing or does a certain thing, he makes it very apparent like this stuff. You know what I'm saying? It affects me too. So they're both pretty susceptible to like sound attacks and all that kind of stuff. But I see what he's getting at. Sound and fire and all that kind of stuff.
And, well, that's just me running an analysis on what the real-world
the real-world application of it,
holds true in the comics, surprisingly enough. All the symbiotes start as weak to sonics to some extent. Not that sort of sonic. Carnage eventually loses that vulnerability. Now, admittedly, it has less to do with his blood connection and more to do with him being granted extra abilities through the powers of ancient magic.
It's not because, like,
whatever it is, I'm just here
his
to say
baseline, like, ability or whatever,
his
or resistance.
In the comics. So if a blood connection protects Carnage from most of the things that would harm Venom, then what is he gonna be vulnerable to? Maybe heat? That's traditionally one of the other classic symbiote weaknesses in the comics. And yeah, you can definitely heat the blood up enough for it to boil and degrade, but neurons are gonna be just as susceptible to those high temperatures, so Venom would be equally at risk. And again, in the comics, we see in the web of Venom that dark Carnage is no longer susceptible to fire. How about electricity? This is still Carnage's main weakness in the comics, and yeah, electricity would absolutely hurt red blood cells. But again, it would also affect Venom, considering that the neurons of Eddie's body literally run on electrical pulses. One of the only things that Carnage seems weak to that Venom wouldn't be is probably the least exciting thing possible: blood-based illnesses. Blood can be weak to itself, as is the case with proliferative blood disorders like leukemia or autoimmune neutropenia, where blood cells attack other blood cells.
Oh snap, never even heard of that.
Carnage with radiation until he has cancer sounds like the sort of solution we come up with for a film theory on how to kill Carnage. I'm gonna venture a wild guess that it's not gonna be all that helpful in a battle against Venom. I mean, if the movie does go in that direction, maybe we'll just pretend that
so this is he hasn't seen the movie yet as of filming this video. Gotcha. I thought he did, but then as like the video's going on, like he's saying like in the movie they're probably, so I see.
But I'm not gonna be holding my breath on that one.
Thread Beast
is a men's clothing subscription company that sends the latest.
That's cool.
More likely, this movie's gonna come down to a CGI slugfest in the dark with some kind of sky beam in the background.
What?
So Carnage being
I don't want to
blood-based
spoil
rather
it,
than
but
neuron-based has fewer weaknesses. So then, how are his strengths? Well, he might not be as fast or reactive as Venom, but he will be stronger. Increased blood flow is associated with muscle growth because red blood cells deliver oxygen to working tissues. More oxygen means more work. That translates to stronger muscles and also more stamina. It also means that, unlike Venom, Carnage in real life should have the ability to regenerate. You see, with human neurons, what you see is kind of what you get. If something gets damaged in the nervous system, it's pretty much gone for good unless it gets actively repaired or replaced. Their lifespan is your lifespan. Blood cells, though, those things are a dime a dozen. Nearly 2 million red blood cells in the adult human body die every second. In fact, your body makes 3.8 million cells every second, and most of them are red blood cells. So an organism that attaches to the blood is going to be much more difficult to completely wipe out because he's constantly multiplying and regenerating himself. And ironically enough, all of this actually matches with Carnage's comic lore. Again, it is weird, the coincidence here. The comics come up with all these wacky reasons to explain the symbiote's powers. They're aliens, they've been affected with magic, they've been attached to Spider-Man's radioactive body at some point, whatever. But in truth, all of it actually ties back to the real-world science in one way or another. We see in the comics that Carnage, unlike Venom, does have regenerative powers. He does tend to be depicted as stronger. He does have incredible stamina. Heck, even his comic ability to create weapons from his own body and launch them makes more sense for a character that's associated with blood. We've got a lot of extra blood cells to spare. Why not grab a few of them, form them into an axe, and launch them?
I never thought about it like that. That's interesting.
Stuff like that because the cells he's working with are limited in number and highly fragile. So looking at just the bonding behavior, this one is a clear victory for Carnage. No question. From a physical standpoint, the blood bond has many more advantages and fewer weaknesses. But there's still one other angle that I want to pursue here, and that's the psychological component. And it all boils down to one line.
We
are Venom.
We are Venom. The symbiote and Eddie are working together as two separate entities within one body.
What is that called in nature? Is it like a mutual symbiosis? What is it called? It's like, I remember in like, I think it was bio. You know what I'm saying? It's like 3 different types of like ways in which animals or organisms kind of interact with each other. One's like I forgot the names of them, but one's like a mutual, and then there's another one's like one organism benefits while the other one is basically being somewhat like taken advantage of, you know what I'm saying? Then there's one where an organism is basically helping another organism out, while that organism also in some type of form or fashion is helping the other organism. Then there's one in which one helps the other, but the other one's not reciprocating. You know what I'm saying?
Cletus Cassidy, on the other hand, always refers to himself as a singular entity. I am Carnage. Who then wins the psychological battle? One singular entity or two sharing the same body? Researchers in the psychology world use a lot of different models to predict human behavior, and one of the most popular currently is called the Big Five, or Ocean Model, an acronym for its 5 metrics: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. With advent of social media, these metrics have exploded into popular use as data engineers design automated tests to extract ocean metrics from your social media data and predict your online activities. That is no joke. That is a real thing. These metrics actually serve as the basis for many of those terrifying algorithms that seem to know exactly what you're thinking and how to advertise directly to you.
Like when you look up something on Google, this happened to me the other day. I was looking up something on Google and then I looked up something on YouTube, and oddly enough, I don't recall looking it up on Instagram. It was so obscure. The thing that I was looking for was like, why would I randomly see this on Instagram? But that was advertised on Instagram, that thing. I was like, yo, what the heck, the other day. I was like, somebody's watching me. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Ain't got no privacy.
So yeah, there's an actual reason I'm bringing this up. Anyway, as you might expect, certain metrics correlate with certain kinds of success and also show your ability to work together. I want to focus specifically on the conscientiousness metric, which is often associated with success in different kinds of workplaces. On one end of the conscientiousness scale are the efficient and organized people, while on the other side sit the extravagant or careless people. And mind you, these aren't my terms, they are the official terms used in this model, and they're designed to be non-judgmental, though I would argue that the word careless really feels judgy to me. Anyway,
oh my
jobs
God.
that
gosh.
don't require a high level of technical knowledge, conscientiousness highly correlates with success. People who are organized, efficient, and goal-oriented have a much higher probability of success in these jobs than the extravagant or careless people who tend to get bored or frustrated, overwhelmed, or distracted before the job's done. Cletus Cassidy is extravagant, to say the least. He's a violent serial killer, and not like the Dexter type who meticulously plans out his crime. One of the reasons the police didn't catch Cassidy until he had committed at least 11 murders, or 23 by his own count, was because his crimes were patternless. Cassidy doesn't kill for a political reason or some deep repressed traumatic reason. He killed because he wanted to. He didn't see the
dude's
point,
just a madman.
totally random. Carnage, his symbiote, is also extravagant. Actually, it's probably better to say that he doesn't come packaged with a solid identity. As we hear in the Spider-Man cartoon,
I get to be like Brock? Similar, but different. Once you bond, it will reflect your hatred for humanity.
Hey, I gotta go back and watch the old Spider-Man series, bro. The old Spider-Man series was so goated, bro. Like, it had every character almost imaginable in the MCU. In there, Daredevil, Punisher, Morbius. It even had all the Spider-Man, Kraven the Hunter, Venom, Carnage. Like, I just really gotta go back and just start, like, every night, like, start watching an episode or two, man. Until I eventually finish it. How many seasons? I forgot. It's on Disney Plus. I'll look at it.
more organized. Though he's definitely more in the
So
middle of the
goated, man.
conscientiousness spectrum. We see that
You want to
Eddie's
know
more than
anything
capable
about
of
Spider-Man?
organizing
Just watch that series.
investigations into powerful people. He's goal-driven. He stops at literally nothing to get his questions to Carlton Drake at the beginning of the first film, resulting in his loss of a highly skilled job. Eddie has much more perseverance when presented with a challenge. And that challenge isn't just Carnage, it's also Venom, who is definitely more on the careless and extravagant end of the conscientiousness spectrum. 2018's Venom was all about Eddie Brock and his symbiote learning to deal with each other. Eddie feels out of control at first and fights against the symbiote's influence. It's only when Eddie voluntarily lets the symbiote back into his body towards the end of the movie that Venom truly achieves his full power. The extremely powerful but chaotic Venom succeeds in part thanks to Eddie Brock's psychological profile reining him in, being more strategic and focusing Venom's incredible power. So while they're certainly operating as separate individuals sharing one body, their strengths and weaknesses ultimately balance each other out, as opposed to the chaotic, extravagant Cletus being made more extreme by the equally chaotic symbiote. What's more, Eddie also gets the advantage of two brains, because you know what they say, two heads are better than one.
Yeah,
and as it turns out, that is scientifically proven, as the report Optimally Interacting Minds shows. I'm not really going to do a deep dive into it here, because it's not really that exciting, but the TLDR is that, yeah, two people communicating with each other and working together does ultimately lead to better results than one person working alone. So, for Eddie and Venom, who have had some time together to work things out, communication is going to come as second nature. So Venom's real advantage over Carnage isn't physical, it's actually psychological. Carnage has nearly all of Eddie's strengths beat, and his weaknesses are much less likely to come into play than Eddie's are. But Eddie has the personality for the job, and the ability to work with his teammate to achieve something greater than Carnage can achieve on his own.
The purple
In the
aura.
most ironic twist of all, a battle between two super powerful blobs of alien goo is ultimately decided by the puny humans that are wearing the suits. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Alright, man. That was a good video, man. Y'all let me know down below, how do y'all feel about this theory? His breakdown was really interesting, and I really and particularly like how he took it back to the comics, because you know what I'm saying? Like, even myself, like, after a certain point, I was like, okay, wait, man. I didn't know quite that much, you know what I'm saying? About, like, I didn't keep up with Carnage all the way. I know of his introduction, and I knew a few events in Maximum Carnage, so on here and there. But I don't keep up with them, like, all that much today as of, like, right now, what they're currently doing or what they've done in the last, like, couple years or so. Anyways, I like that, though. I like that theory. That's actually really interesting. And, yeah, I did notice that, too. I didn't notice it. When the first trailer came out, someone had broken down a reactor, or someone did a breakdown or something, had broken down, like, how the bond between Eddie and Venom is very different from the bond between Carnage and what's his name, Cletus Cassidy. Because when Cletus Cassidy changes or morphs, it's almost like it's coming out of his skin, and it's like he's just coming out of his skin and he changes. Whereas Eddie, it's like coming over him. It's like something's laying on top of him, rather than like it's coming out his pores and stuff. You know, especially in that one scene, in the prison scene, where he's like about to die or whatever, they're about to inject him. You see it come out of his pores and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's a really good, interesting note of how, like, their symbiote, how, you know what I'm saying, the symbiotes are, what is the word, bonded differently. You know what I'm saying? I was looking for the word for so long. Bonded. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, like I said though, that theory was really cool. Shout out to Film Theorist, man. He's really going crazy with the content, man. How long has he been on YouTube, man? I feel like he's been on here for a while, bro. I gotta go back and I'm gonna look at some of his stuff, man, because I seen a lot of his videos, but some of these other theories, like I think I should go back and check out, see what the accuracy is. You know what I'm saying? For like older films that have already come out. Anyways, man, y'all let me know down below in the comments, man, how y'all felt about that. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. Let me know some theories you may have. And if so, have you seen Venom Let There Be Carnage? What are your thoughts on the film? Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. Follow me on YouTube. You know, also follow me on Instagram. Lyric says so, same as YouTube channel. There you can send me stuff to too. That being said, peace.